Hello there, Sniperz227 here, and I'm back with a tutorial that has been long overdue. Tutorial on texturing. And basically textures add realism. If you don't know what texture is, they're basically an image like this slapped onto an object. So as you can see, our objects have only been colored objects, and when you include an image, you can slap that image on so it looks like that, or whatever image you have, and then put Batman stuff like this, etc. So I'm going to show you, but first of all, I want you to know how images or UV indexes or UV coordinates work. So when I talk about UV coordinates, I'm talking about these. Vertices have 3 points, X, Y, Z, to define one vertice, but UV coordinates only have 2, S and T. So if you wanted, and it basically lines the image up, so if you wanted your image to look like this, you'd put this coordinate first, then this, and this, and it would display the image like that. However, if you wanted to display from the bottom to the top, you'd put this, 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 and this, and it would display it like that. So those are the only 4 coordinates you need, and they're always, well, not always the same, but most of the time the same. As in, one's always a 0, and then one's always going to be a number, whether it's positive. But yeah, so let's get into it. So over here, I've created a simple plane. So you create a simple plane. If you haven't watched my other tutorials, this code won't make sense, but I'm simply just making a plane, 2.5 by or 5 by 5 plane, and if we compile it, we move it around, we can see that the plane is there. So we got ourselves a plane, or also known as a simple square. So again, we want an image slapped onto this black square, and the image I'm going to use is an asphalt image that I used. The loader I'm going to use, there are many loaders out there, but the one I'm using is actually hand-coded by another programmer from the game. I got this from the game programming wiki. I'll just show you where you could pick it up. Let's pick it up over here. Go to the forum or tutorials. Go to C++, and I'm going to use a TGA one written by Codehead, so all credit goes to Codehead for this loader. And I already have this loader set up here. So if you look at it, this is the main function we're going to use, which is going to load all the, it's going to incorporate the TGA data into OpenGL data and then slap the texture on. So there are 3 main steps before you actually render it. So you need to set your GLUint texture variable to the loading function. So I'd have something like GLUint text ID equals load texture, so the function I just showed you. Then we'd have to generate it, so GLGen texture, we're generating one texture, and the ID of where the texture is pointed to. So this is the pointer, so point over there, and then we have GL, forget about this for now, but we have GL bind texture, so we bind it after. Texture 2D, and then text ID. And then when you, in your init file or anywhere else, when you're rendering, usually I put this in the initialization file, you'd put GL enable texture 2D to actually enable texturing. And then you'd make your, you'd set your UV coordinates. So yeah, like I said, you should watch my other videos before so you could get this structure. But basically, I'm using a texturing structure, which is not different from what I showed you. If you don't want to create the structure, or if you're doing it differently or on your own, all you need are 3 variables I told you, you need the GL unit text ID, you need a vector of a GL float type called text, and then you need two variables or one variable, in my case, so for efficiency, GL float UV, and then 2, because there's 2 of them. And then we can start. So after I've created my plane over here, like I said, the first step is point your texture ID to the actual texture, so load TGA texture. I don't know. I'll make a grass one, so grass1.tga. So we got that, GL gen textures 1 text ID. Oopsies, it should be, because I have it in my structure, so texture same thing over here, and then GL bind texture, and then GL texture 2D, or GL texture underscore 2D, sorry, and text ID. Now, like I said, first of all, I want to also enable GL texture 2D. So now, once we're done that, we need to set the UV faces. Oopsies. So you're going to get your UV function and set it to 0.0. So we're going to start from the top left going down, so I'm going to put 0.1f, just paste that, paste this 4 times to save time. Okay, so this is 1, so 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, and then 0, 0, and then don't forget to actually push them back, so into our vector we're going to push all these values back like we would with our vertices. So put this here, copy, paste, copy that 4 times, 4. Now we have your UV coordinates, and now we just need to set the rendering. So I have, what is it? I actually have my own rendering function, but I'll show you what we want. So this is basically, I'll take this out for now, but basically, actually, yeah. So I should be using vertex bind buffer. That's not right. I should be using VBOs. I think I went over vertex buffer objects. I haven't incorporated into here, so just gonna shist it from my other, or actually I might have my object loader. Do we have? No, we do not. So this should be your base code right now. Just to render if you just wanted to render your let's cut out the bullshit one sec. This would just render your plane, obviously. So if we might actually crash because there's no file. Actually, no, I don't think it will. Talking about the texture file that I'm loading, but it's not there. Yep. So it should still show up. So you got just your plane, so that's a code. Now the second step is GL enable client state GL text I think it's texture chord array. Yep, there we go. And we'll do the same thing down here, but disable. Disable. Now we want to use VBOs. Actually, I think I could get away with it. GL text. Text. Pointer. Text. Chord. Pointer. There we go. So there's two of them. They're GL float. Size. How many do we have? No, 0, 0. That for now. Actually, I think we will need the VBO, so I'm just gonna quick get my VBO code from one of my other projects. Central object system. .cpp. So it's gonna need this, and yeah, we're gonna have to bind the buffer after, so this is the better way to do it, I would say. Anyways, so yep. So once we go to render, so after we've done all this, I'll just recreate it. Or even basically you're gonna gen buffer, and you're gonna have two GLUNs. So GLUN, VBO, VIO, and VTO. One's for our vertice list, our indice list, and our texture list. So this one, it's going to be an array buffer, and then size of our vertice list, so your vector where you have your vertices, and then static draw. And now we're going to do the same thing for indices. So our indexes, except it should be element array buffer for this. One element array buffer, and this should be your indices, so mine's faces. And then the last one for your textures should point to your texture, so a texture array, or vector, sorry, not array. There you go, static draw, and this one's just going to be an array buffer. Once we got that, go back here, and I think it's GL pointer, GL bind buffer, GL array buffer, and do I attach it to, okay, I set the, so I set the pointer to 0 and I attach it to that. So we're going to set this to 0. Actually, I should copy that. So you're going to put the list, so this is for VBO, so vertex list, so we're going to add the vertice list, and then for vertex pointer, we're just going to set that to 0, and same thing over here, we're going to bind the buffer, except we're going to change out the texture, text, and hopefully it works, except I'm missing one thing, and that is the texture. So I don't want to run it without the texture. Just going to quickly find the texture. It's one of my really old projects, so give me a sec. Get that texture. Windows game development. Lightning engine. Is it engine? There we go. It's in here. Gonna go to graphics, scene textures, and I did grass1.tga. Copy that into here. Hopefully that works. Look at my code to see what's panicking. I'm just gonna pause it, see what. Okay, sorry. So, it's been almost an hour since I'm trying to debug it, and basically there's something wrong. I got this error before, and I remember it had to do something with the glue library, and I just can't figure out what I did before to get it working. But I got it working on another program I was working with, so. Yeah, so we have our VBOs, our VIO, and then our VTO. So once you have that, like I said, you want to add your texture, buffer, and our pointer, and it should work, and it'll show you what it looks like. Also, you can see, if I go back, where is it? Yep, loaded that, and I binded the texture somewhere else. I don't know why, but when I added that, it didn't work, so I think it's because I binded it somewhere else, but I don't know. So if it's not working for you, if it shows up white, then try and comment that out, but it shouldn't. And this is just my program, so the texture is going to appear. Let me see. So the texture is, oh, sorry, wrong one. Wrong line. That's a texture line for something else. It's basically this one, so I'm binding it, and it's default floor.pcx, so it's going to be a blue floor. And so to create it, I just hit floor, hit create, and you can see that there's a texture now on that object. I'm going to try and do it in there once more. If it doesn't work, it should work for you guys. If it doesn't work, I'm going to try and see if I can do without VBOs and VIOs. Good old-fashioned way. But I haven't, so it might not work. But basically this should be gone. This should be here. This should be here. Except we're gonna add this part. Delete this. So we can delete those two, add an ampersand, and hopefully it works, ladies and gentlemen. So it's still not working this way. There we go. So if it doesn't work that way, all you have to do is, I guess I mixed this up, but bind it first, and you have to generate it. So forget everything here, you have to bind it first, then generate it. And you have your UV coordinates, so we're going to load my grass. And you see that it works. So, yep, that's how you load it. If you get VBOs working on yours, I don't know if that's a problem for everyone or if it's just for me. The code is there. Just pause it. Just pause it a couple minutes back where I deleted that code, but just re-add that code. If you can't, add text chord pointer to GeoFloat0 and then reference it to your vector. So our vector is text, the one that has all the v coordinates in. And then you have to use your GeoUint pointer, load the texture. I got that from, you could use, I don't know, what was that? I forget, but there's other libraries there. There's free image, or you could go to game programming. We can use Codehead's TGA texture, like I did. You want to bind it and you want to generate it, and as you can see, we get a successful little grass texture right there. So again, Sniperz227, and I will see you guys another time with another tutorial.